mysteriously go missing in the Ukraine in September 2011. 6 months later, amateur video footage revives the investigation with evidence to support the theory of a kidnapping. Frustrated with the local authorities dragging their heels, the Foundation decides to pick up the investigation from scratch.
The place where they were reported missing and the place where they were last seen alive.
And in order to do this, we've set up 2 teams of investigators.
The Foundation hires 2 groups of investigators, each responsible for exploring all the leads that the authorities have failed to follow up.
Which is what Fabio's having a look at right now, so this is great news. And hopefully it's going to lead to something.
In a bid to give the groups a helping hand with their investigations, the Foundation appeals to internet users around the world for their support.
Users could have all this kind of research.
That includes you. So here you are, up to your neck in a real-time paranormal thriller where your actions could determine the course of events. To help you keep tabs on the investigation and make your own contributions, the Foundation has provided a rich toolkit which you can use to stay in daily contact with the investigators and all the other internet sleuths. You can analyze and decipher films and documents, take part in missions offered by the characters, share the countless clues with your friends, carry out your own research on the web, and even in real life. Emails, text messages, social networks. Follow the investigation at your own pace from your PC or cell phone. If you make it to the top through sheer determination and talent, you could soon join the team of investigators in the story, and even play a starring role.
And of course, those who deserve it will be compensated.
When I got started, I thought it was only a game. Little did I know that this story would change my life.
Hey, you have any? The envelope?
So, this project was done in partnership with the Numeric. So all the storytelling part was done by our partner, and Orange provided all the technical assets. So, which leads to the topic of the day. Let me I'll say something, but it's going to be a game plus a web series plus characters on Facebook, mobile site. It will be launched in France in October 2012, but it should be launched next year in the US. We're looking for partners right now. It's our first project that's not just for France. So the way we see ourselves today, it's through all those projects we're trying to learn. We are not actual content creators, but we can be providers of technology to create stories. I like it's John Lasseter from Pixar, which has a great line, which is sometimes art challenges technology, art inspires technology, or inspires the art, or something like that. The whole thing is, we're trying to build a platform that will help storytellers create amazing stories. So, thank you very much for your time.
Aggregate media and curate media. And I always like to quote people. I love Henry Jenkins' academia view of what transmedia is. And one of the questions that I had coming to tonight is, are we going to find out that, that holy grail, that one platform to rule them all? I don't think that's going to happen. And he agrees with me. He actually says, no single medium is going to win the battle for our ears and eyeballs. And when will we get all of our media funneled just through one box? Never. So, but I think actually we are going into a world where there are more interesting platforms to create, and there are more tools for the storyteller to use. And I think this is what we really want to showcase today is beautiful tools that are out there for the creators, and how creators can actually have a life without, a world without boundaries, where they just have to think about a beautiful story, the story world and the story universe, and find the platform that will best tell that story to reach their audience. So first we have Dan Brazelton of Toolchair, and he's going to tell us about their pretty amazing platform. I've seen some of the stuff that you are not going to see tonight. It is beautiful. So that's all I'm going to say, because he's going to show us what they are allowed to show us right now, and just what your appetite for the capabilities of this beautiful platform. So, Dan?
Can you all hear me now? Good. Thanks for listening to me. Like Maya said, there's a whole bunch of transmedia stuff that we're doing right now. We're doing some magazines, and we're doing some books that are more periodical based and have video and 3D objects and all sorts of media mixed into them. A lot of what we've been working on right now is still under wraps, so I can't show it. But I will show a little bit about our philosophy about what transmedia is, and kind of talk about where we think transmedia needs to go. So first, I'll show you a product that we did not work on at all. Okay, I chose this because we have nothing to do with it, and then therefore I can't break any non-disclosures. So, but you take a project like Tron. It's obvious it's an old property that became a new property, and they want to bring a lot of life to it. So they're going to make a game with it, and they're going to make a graphic novel, and of course all sorts of video and magazines, and yes, there is a Tron magazine. And then there's the web. You have all this content that's out there, and each one of these content has different platforms for each one of them. You've got, the consoles, you've got the mobile devices. You have the feature film, you have trailers, you have television, and you have, again, more platforms for graphic novels. It's not just print now, it can be all sorts of different platforms. And on the web doesn't mean one thing. You have multiple browsers, you have Facebook as its own platform on the web. And then magazines now, particularly with the new iPad, which is as good as print resolution. You have all these different formats of things that go through. And as you can see, this starts to not be very pretty, and it becomes very difficult to deal with. So at Toolchair, we thought we wanted to focus our tool set so that if you had an experience and it was an experience that you set up for the iPad, it should be a very similar complementary experience on the iPhone. And it should be an experience that you could have on the Fire. And it's an experience that you can have on the Nook. And it's an experience that you can have on iPhone, on Facebook. The way we will do that is through our tool called the Active Reader. The Active Reader was built originally to do books. But as we had built this platform, it became so much more than that. It could do magazines, it could do video, it could do games, and all of these different assets could go into the tool. And the way it works is everything comes into our very artist-friendly environment. It's a motion graphics kind of environment, timeline interface, instead of getting into code. Instead of getting into either action script or any kind of coding whatsoever, you can come in and you can animate and you can build out your elements and place all your pieces. And then when you want to make your interactivity, it's all a visual language. Everything that you want to do is built into this tool so that you can just plug in, decide what you wanted. This was actually inspired by me getting on the whiteboard and saying, well, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and then I started using mind mapping tools, and then I went to our engineers and said, could we take an export of this mind mapping tool and put it into and import it into the system? And he said, why don't I just make a mind mapping tool in the system? So that's how we work with it. So you can actually start sketching and playing with your interactivity right away. And then immediately, there couldn't be any delay from when you were working in the tool. You didn't want to do builds and all sorts of other processes, technical processes to get into your platforms. We want you to be able to publish directly out to everything right away. Take a look at it, and then if your tool, if you want to go back and tweak the animations, you want to tweak the interactivity, get the feel of it, play, then you can see it directly on the device that you're using. So I'm going to give you one example of this. This is our first project, which is Operation Ajax. Operation Ajax is a graphic novel, and it's set in the, I don't have sound plugged into this, there's a full interactive soundtrack to it. And this is just a little excerpt of it. And it's a story of the CIA's involvement in Iran in the 1950s. It's very cloak and dagger, based on fact. And as you go through the story, you can select more information about what's going on. In fact, in the full version of the story, you can actually open up a dossier and read historical information about what's going on, or see newsreels for the information that's going on, going back all the way to the 1920s, up to the 1970s, and it gives you a full depth of information that's actually about as extensive as the full 210-page graphic novel. There's that much more content that's underneath the hood, because you can access it with all these different tools, whether it's video, 3D, or text, or sound, music. So that's our tool. What we see our tool is more than just a tool. It has to be something that inspires to look beyond the concept of pages, to look beyond the concept of page flipping, whether that's a video and goes over here, and that's a graphic novel and goes over here, and that's a magazine and goes over here, but merging all these things together and then allowing you to customize and optimize them for the different experiences that you're going to go to. So for Operation Ajax, the experience on the iPhone is slightly different than the experience on the iPad. What we've done is we've brought the camera in closer, we've changed the menus out, you can just very quickly, but it's all within the same project. So then when we went to Fire, actually it was closer to what the iPhone should be. So we went out to the iPhone, so the same version is going out to the Fire that was on the iPhone. So you need to have tools that are flexible, that contain all of the different kinds of content, and then don't require you to have a significant amount of engineering skills to be able to get anything done, but at the same time, not be so dead simple that you're just throwing stuff in and then turning the crank and it's spitting out something that looks like an active reader project. Every single active reader project is a unique project, looks unique, doesn't have that active reader feel. In fact, there's a lot of active reader projects that are out there that nobody knows they exist because people have put them out there and they just look like their own projects.
Anybody have some questions for Dan? We have like time for one or two questions. Yeah, you can come here. You can ask from here. Yeah.
So what typically do you find interactive feedback here that you realize that you need VR actually
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. I actually haven't practiced this this demo very much. So yes, I forgot a very important part. He wants to know what's the underlying technology and how do we interact with different devices?
And how do you deal with AR time?
So the underlying technology is Unity, and that's really important. So Unity, for those who don't know, is a 3D game engine that will go out to all these different platforms. What we did is we sat our system on top of Unity, so you don't have to know anything about Unity to use it, but at the same time we can take advantage of a lot of the power of the Unity engine, which is significantly more powerful than, say, a Flash engine, and optimized for mobile devices. So, but we did one step further. We actually have a sub-format under Unity so that we can actually also make it so you can get out to devices and actually publish what we call circulate to the device without having to make a Unity build or having Unity Pro or anything like that. So right now we're in closed beta, and we're actually having some conversations about the pricing. But the equipment that you need, so if you're a large organization, you need to buy Unity Pro. If you want to make what you call your own bundles, you need to have Unity iOS Pro. Otherwise, we work on a model of licensing and support. If you have a support contract with us, we'll make your bundles for you, so it removes the requirement to have Unity at all, or Unity Pro. You need a machine with a lot of visual. You want a lot of monitors. You don't need a lot of horsepower, but you do need a lot of monitors because you want to monitor the size of your iPad, monitor the size of your timeline and your event tree, and it starts getting really big. Mac or a PC? Windows machine or a Mac?
Yeah, this was working.
One of them is coming, yeah.
One more question, maybe Maya, one more question?
One more question, yeah.
Do you find that you're running into any legal issues in terms of like cross-platform performance of the different corporations having their stake on content, or maybe it's sort of down the road, and if you're in tall chairs addressing that as an issue?
I'm not sure what you mean by legal issue. I mean, there is the one
Like
legal thing.
copyright or-
Yeah, the only issue we've run into would be similar to any sort of IP property. Skippy John Jones for US Penguin Group USA was not published in the UK because Penguin UK did not have the license to publish it digitally. So you might have those kind of issues, but those are standard IP issues. Really, we're kind of agnostic to that. You're publishing your own works. You're either a publisher or you find a publisher. We're not publishing. So you're responsible for your own IP.
Sorry, bear with us. This is a brand new office with brand new technology.
It was working.
It was working before. So talk for a few minutes until we get this sorted. So Dan, I'll ask you a quick question as part of our panelists. You were saying that this is really definitely a tool for the creator. Oh, we're good?
We are good.
We're good. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Aaron Williams with us, and he is the CEO of SocialSamba. And
Thank you.
I will give the podium to you.
Thank you very much. How many people in the room are storytellers? Great. And how many of your stories involve zombies? All of them. No. Okay, so I'm from SocialSamba. Really happy to be here tonight. We have a platform that enables storytellers to take characters and put them into social networks so that fans can come along and friend those characters and experience what it's like to be part of their lives. So imagine, for instance, being able to friend James Bond. And over the course of a week, you get posts and comments and images and videos from James and his MI5 buddies. They're racing around the world, tracking a terrorist, saving the world, getting a girl, and you get to participate in that story through a social network. So it feels the same way like you connect to your friends and family using Facebook, except now you've got James Bond as a friend. Now, of course, if you're a storyteller, you could kind of do this today using Facebook and Twitter. But they really have two problems. One is, I don't know about you, but I miss probably 90% of the content that comes into my Twitter feed because I'm just not there at 9 p.m. when it comes in, right? Social networks have become a fire hose, and it's actually hard to follow a sort of stream of narrative and actually follow a story if you're just doing it inside Facebook or Twitter. But the second problem, which I think is actually a bigger problem for storytellers, is I don't want to just watch James Bond run around the world. I want to be a character in his story. I want to friend him. Friending him means something different than being a voyeur of him. I want him to call me by name. I want to connect with him. I want to help determine how the story unfolds and how it ends. And so our platform is really focused on enabling storytellers to script out that entire experience, that entire story, that entire narrative, and then we play it back for each fan whenever they want to experience it. And so by having that ability to script it and play it back, what we end up with is a platform that gives each fan a very deep connection to those characters and to that story. I'm going to show you a quick example. This is for a movie that we worked on last summer for Warner Brothers called Dolphin Tale. I'm sure everybody in here saw the movie, right? Because you're all dolphin lovers. Well, part of the movie, it was based on a true story about a dolphin that got rescued in Florida. And part of the story was about the rescue, where they found this dolphin on the beach, they took it back to their aquarium, they had to nurse it back to health. And that was sort of 3 days in real life. Now, in the movie, it was about 5 minutes. So what the writer of the movie said was, I really want to tell that part of the story. I want to tell the rescue, and I want to give fans the ability to feel like they're part of the rescue. And so we created a story where you come in, you friend the doctors that are rescuing this dolphin, and over the course of 3 days, in real time, you get to experience what it's like to be part of a dolphin rescue. So if I click Join Now, and I click through the Facebook dialogue. Come on, Facebook. Give that a second. So, but the whole goal here is once you get in, we want you to be part of the rescue. The characters in the rescue will call you by name. They'll ask you, hey, what do you think we should do? And you'll get to actually experience that part of the story then in real time over 3 days. And here it comes. And of course, I'm starting it now. If you started it next week and you came in to experience the story, you would start at the same point. Everybody starts at the beginning of the story. Everybody gets a complete 3-day experience. So what this has done for Dolphin Tale is it's given them an asset that they can use not only when the movie comes out, but also when it comes out on DVD, and also when the next movie comes out. So we still have thousands of fans that are coming in and experiencing this story, even though the movie has been gone now for months. As soon as I come in, maybe a little hard to read in the back, but as soon as I come in, you can see the characters start calling me by names. I'm the only real person in the social network. The rest of those characters are scripted characters written by the writer of the movie. And now you'll see the story start to play out over real time, over sort of in the news feed, just like you would a social network. You'll see images, you'll see videos, and you'll see the ability for me to respond to questions from the characters to determine how the story should unfold. So when the characters come and ask me, hey, what do you think we should do? I get the ability to go in and comment back to them and talk to them and tell them what should happen. And the storyteller then gets the ability to script how that story should unfold for me based on my responses. So here's an example of that. One of the characters comes to me and asks me, do I believe in fate? Yeah. So I can answer whatever I want in here. It's just like a social network. We have a natural language processor on the back end that understands how to respond. So I'm going to say, yeah, gotta be fate. Now you'll see the characters start to respond to me, and over the course of the next 3 days, actually the story refers back to the fact that I made a decision at this point in the story. And again, this is all written by the creator of the story. And these characters aren't just flat characters. They also have backgrounds, so I can click into any of these guys and see a profile for them, just like you would see a profile for any other person on Facebook. And of course, these are real Facebook likes as well. So when I hover over them, I can see not only what the actual page is, but I can see which of my friends like that thing. And it really connects not only me to the characters, but the characters to the rest of my social fabric. We want you to feel like you're really participating in the lives of these characters very deeply. So this is just one example. Quick look at another example. This is for the TV show Psych on USA. They wanted to not just produce one episode, but they wanted to produce 7 episodes that you could experience over 7 days. So if you go to #killer.com, you can see examples, you can see all 7 weeks of the story. You can come in, friend the characters, experience each of the 7 weeks. We were really happy with the level of engagement that we got out of fans, and I'll just show you quickly some stats on that. We're over 400,000 unique visitors now that have come in to experience this story, but I think the number that really matters here is the bottom one. It's the depth of engagement that you get by telling your fans a story. They're coming in and spending, on average, 14 minutes per visit, which adds up to a total of 20 million minutes engaged in the story. And they're coming back once every 36 hours, so they're really engaged with those characters. They're not just coming in once, checking out your page, and then walking away. They're coming in and actually participating in your story. I'm just going to show one more quick thing, and that is our tool. So we've created a tool called Saga Writer, which lets anybody come in and create one of these stories. If you go to SocialSamba.com, you'll see a link up in the upper right-hand corner that says Write a Story. If you click on it, you'll be brought directly into here, where you can actually create a story of your own. Define your characters, put them into a script, play the script back, post that story out to your Facebook page, and let your friends come in and experience it. So it's not just about Warner Brothers and USA using this. It's not about the 500,000 stories that we've told for those big dogs. Now it's about really reaching out to that long tail and looking for the writers like you guys that have great stories to tell as well, that want to be able to come in and use a platform like this to get your characters out there and get your fans engaged with them. So I'm going to run a quick workshop for anybody that's interested. When we're done here, we'll go off into a corner. I'll show you how to use the tool. I'll show you sort of the ins and outs of it. Everybody here is going to create a story tonight. Okay, not too many laughs, that's good. So, but we really want to encourage you to come in and try it out. Give it a try. So we just launched this a couple weeks ago, so we're really looking for feedback and input from you guys. You can help us as well, and hopefully we can help you to get your characters out there and get your fans engaged with them. Do I have one more minute? Okay, good. So I'm going to show quickly just what this means. So I'm going to give my story a title. I'll call it zombie attack. And I'll create my first character. I'll name him Aaron, of course. Being able to select any avatar, or I can upload any avatar I like. So these are avatars that we've pre-built into the system, but you can upload any picture you like. Upload a picture of yourself. I kind of like this guy. He looks like a zombie to me. I'm going to drag and drop that now into my story here. And I'm going to create the first text. He'll say hi there. But of course, it's not that interesting if he just says hi there. I want him to say hi there to the reader. So I'm going to put the reader's name into that text. So I'll just type @ and then use the reader's name. So now he'll say hi there, Aaron, if I'm reading it, or he'll say hi there, Maya, if Maya's reading it, right? So time to create a new character, of course, because a one-character story just isn't that interesting. So let's name him or her Maya. Choose another. Which thing? I'm sorry. Yeah, this is actually the name of the reader. So when you play the story back, it'll say hi there with the name of the reader plugged in. So this is how we do social storytelling, because you can actually pull information from the reader, from their social profile, simple things like their name, or more complex things if you like, to be able to include it in the story and make it a personal story. So I can include comments, so maybe Maya says hi there. And of course, we also have the ability to attach images, videos, likes. So all of this can be sort of built into the social fabric. It's not just about sort of text and dialogue. So imagine, for instance, that this first post isn't just a post, it's actually maybe a like. And let's say that he likes Transmedia. I haven't actually done a search on this. Let's see what it shows on. Transmedia Lab, that's a good one. So now you can see what it looks like when I'm actually plugging in that kind of content into the story. So this is a way to bring sort of the social fabric into your story to engage with characters. As I said before, we also have the branching mechanism where the characters can ask questions. So I can go into more detail on this later, but the point is, this tool is ready, it's available now. We've got content creators and storytellers out there producing stories using this, publishing it out to their Facebook pages. And we'd love to get you guys to come and use it as well. And tell us what you think. Create some stories.
Thank you, Aaron. Cody of Co-Chair will be giving also a small workshop, so you can actually get your choice. And are you going to have a little workshop?
Yeah, I'd be happy to show anyone who's interested in our platform.
Yeah, so we're going to have 3 little workshops starting after our 1-minute soapbox for anybody in our community that wants to be part of that. That starts at 8. Any questions for Eric? Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I did a Transmedia series last year where we had the characters create their own blogs and other ancillary properties to help engage people. And how do we have access to something like this? It really would have simplified a lot of the hard work. 2 questions about this. One, it's a single user experience right now.
Mm-hmm.
You've explained it. Is there the capability or the capability of having other people be able to, real people, be able to interact at the same time?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have 2 sort of ways to do that now. One is by inviting other people into the story. So if I invite you into the story, my story knows about you, and so it becomes sort of a 2-player in the sense that my story refers back to you then as somebody I invited, and your story refers to me as the person that brought you into the story. So we have that capability today. The hardest part about having 2 people in a real story isn't the platform. The platform can handle it. It's the storyteller that has the hard time of sort of keeping track of multiple people engaged in a single story, and how do you make decisions and stuff like that. So if you've got a great idea for a multiplayer story, we'd love to put it on our platform, but we just haven't had any storytellers quite that ambitious yet.
Just a second question. How are you monetizing it? Does it cost to use it, or?
So the tool's available for free. Come use it, create your stories, publish them out, have fun. We want to enable storytellers to make money off of this. So imagine being able to take product placement and put it into your story, or take sponsorships and make it part of your story, right? But even going one step further, Zynga is going to make $2 billion this year selling virtual sheep, right? And they're doing this because fans want to pay a little bit of Facebook credit to get a premium experience with their farm on Farmville. What if you could do the same thing in stories? So what if you're the 15-year-old girl from Topeka, Kansas. You friend the cast of Glee. Prom's coming up on Saturday night, and the character comes to you and says, hey, would you like to wear that dress in your closet for free to the virtual prom? Or would you like to pay 3 Facebook credits to get this designer dress to wear to the virtual prom? And then based on your decision, the story changes, right? So we have that ability to weave in that kind of virtual good and sort of premium experience into the story, where fans can pay a little bit to get that kind of additional experience. So again, don't have any customers that are using that today because we're still sort of in that phase of using this for marketing more than driving revenue. But if that's what you're interested in, if you want to create a story that does that, if that's what your goal is, talk to us.
Thank you, Aaron. So now we have Katie Smiley. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Of Miso, a second screen social TV app that's a lot of fun to use. I've used it for 1 or 2 TV shows already, and it's a lot of fun. So tell us a little bit more about what Miso is.
Yeah, so I run product at Miso, and our mission at Miso is to make TV watching better. And as Maya said, the way that we're doing that today is by providing an open publishing platform for anybody to create second screen experiences for viewers and audiences as they watch TV. So let me give you guys a little bit of background on our company and kind of how we got to this mission today. So when we first started, we noticed this trend happening in the living room, and I'm sure all of you guys can relate to what's going on here. The way that people used to watch television was they would sit around and you would stare at the TV screen, and that just isn't how people watch TV today. Today we have our laptops in front of us, we have our iPhones in our pockets, we have our tablets on our coffee tables. And so we're multitasking and doing all these other activities at the same time that we watch TV. And I think someone actually had this stat on a slide earlier, but Nielsen reports that 40% of people are doing this on a daily basis, which is huge, on both their smartphones and on their tablets. So the opportunity for us was, how can we provide a place where people who are already engaging on these second screen devices can go and get all the information that they're looking for while they watch TV. So we kind of asked ourselves, well, what are people doing while they watch TV? And the answer is they're really doing all kinds of things, right? You're checking your email, you're updating your Facebook status, but you're also really curious about what it is that you're watching. So we find that a lot of the activities that people are doing are actually related to the content that they're watching on the first screen. Whether it's looking up information about an actor on IMDb or posting a reaction to a moment that happened on Twitter and adding a hashtag. That all of these activities, many of them relate to what you're watching. So we took this, and our vision really has been, over the last 2 years, to make TV watching more useful, more social, and more fun. And as I mentioned, we launched 2 years ago, and when we first started thinking about this space, we wanted to provide an engaging second screen experience for the entire time you're watching TV. So from the start all the way through to the end. But the first thing we needed to know before we could provide that was, what are you watching? And so back then, we saw what services were doing in the location-based world, like Foursquare, and we borrowed this idea of checking in, and we applied it to TV. So the first version of our app, which launched 2 years ago, was basically asked the question, you opened it up, it said, what are you watching? And you got to search for the show you were watching, and you check in. And one of the first things we explored around that, which is similar to Foursquare, was how can we make this more fun? So we provided badges and points and leaderboards so people could show off their fan status by sharing what they're watching on TV. And in the subsequent year, we then extended that to kind of think about, well, what else can we do after you've checked in and you share what you watched? So what are all the fun experiences that we can offer from the entire time that you're watching the show? So some of the things that we looked at were, we experimented with real-time chatting. So you can go into the show you're watching and engage with other fans and some of your friends who are watching that show and kind of talk about it. We've also experimented with sharing your reaction through polls. So you could answer a question and kind of share out what, maybe it was a contestant on American Idol and you wanted to say whether you thought they sung well or not. So we've done that. We've asked our users to rate and review episodes, and they enjoyed doing that. And one of the things that we found that was really compelling was we started to deliver information to people while they're watching TV. So this could be anything from trivia about the actor to more historical reference about something happening, or just a funny fact extending a joke that happened on the first screen. And so what this led us to, through all of these different kind of experimentations and features that we put into our product, we came out with 2 major takeaways around what the second screen was going to be. And so the first one was that, and this should be pretty obvious, there's no one size fits all. And I think you guys can imagine today, you think of different genres of television. What you want on a second screen is going to be different when you're watching, say, American Idol, and you want to react to, a terrible performance, versus we were watching Dexter, and it was a really intense murder scene, and you want to talk to someone about what happened, versus comedy and sports. You're going to want a different experience for all of these genres. The interesting thing is if you go even one level deeper at the show level, even within that, you want different things depending on the show you're watching. So for Glee, you might want to learn more about the music. For Mad Men, you might want to understand the historical references. Or for Gossip Girl, you might want more information about the fashion, like where can I buy that dress? So even one more level beyond that is it's very personalized. Everybody wants something different. So I might be really interested in getting gossip information, while someone else might just care about the actual characters in the show, and they want to understand more about the plot and more about that character. So what we really found was there's no silver bullet solution that we could just take and put on a second screen and have it work for every show out there. So that was our first major learning. The second thing that we kind of discovered was that, and this is obvious probably to a lot of you storytellers in the room, is that TV is essentially an art form. There's a team of writers that come together to create this story. They think about the plot. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end to every story. And within that, there's even arcs within the season or the series. So in addition to that, there's also so much that goes into producing a television series, from the staging to the videography to editing. Literally millions of dollars are spent to produce a single episode of a TV show. So we thought, wow, this is really interesting. A lot of people are trying all these things on the second screen, but what if the second screen was as highly produced and as creative as the first screen? And we really believe that that's what's going to create the most compelling experience. So from these two learnings, we've launched in the last fall, we've launched a new product. This product is something that we're calling a sideshow. And sideshows are interactive content experiences that play on your second screen device while you watch TV. So, to tell you a little bit more about sideshows. Sideshows are created from an open publishing platform, and anybody can create a sideshow. So you can imagine just like you go and you create a blog, whether it's on Tumblr or WordPress. We have an online publishing form that lets you go and create content and turn that into your own second screen experience for any show out there that you want. We deliver this content at synchronized moments. So this works whether you're watching live or DVR, because every piece of content is time-stamped to a moment that corresponds to the show. So your audience that you're creating these sideshows and these stories for are getting that piece of information at the exact relevant moment that they watch TV. And like I said, anyone in this room, any of you can create a sideshow. So not only do we work today with networks who love to do this, they are creating their own apps as well as using ours. Brands can do this, celebrities can do this, but anyone, a fan of the show, can create a sideshow for any episode of the show that you like. So I'm going to show you some quick examples of some things that people have done in sideshows. This first one is a tweet from Conan O'Brien, and this was something that he tweeted during the Super Bowl. So a fan was able to grab this tweet and tag it to a moment. It's a funny tweet about the Patriots. You can also use the same format to type up quotes that characters have said. People love to share these quotes. You look on Twitter, they're already typing it into Twitter and sharing on Facebook. So we make it really easy for the viewer to see that quote, and they can share it with their friends and enjoy that experience. Another example I already mentioned is fashion, reference to a clothing item or an accessory, really anything that you see on a show, and maybe you're interested in getting more information about it. And by the way, as a storyteller and as someone who does this as a living, we are thinking of ways that you can monetize your creation of sideshows through affiliate links such as this. A few more examples. I think we can all relate to the guest star. You're watching your favorite show and there's a new actor. You're like, who is that person? I totally recognize them, but I just can't put my finger on it. So this is a very popular thing that our producers, our sideshow producers, put into sideshows. There's also an element of interactivity. Not only can you comment and have conversations around all these sideshow cards, which are the individual pieces of content, but you can also create polls for your audience and get their reaction around specific moments that happen on TV, which is very compelling. And we found that our users and the audiences love to react and share because it's so easy for them. They don't have to think of something to type in Twitter. They just select their reaction and they can share their opinion with their friends. Music I also mentioned is an example from Glee. You can provide references to the songs that you hear in the background. It's oh, what song is that? And you try to get Shazam out and it doesn't happen in time and you're lost and you don't get that song. So with Miso Sideshows, that's another example of cool content. And then of course there's unique content for your shows, like I mentioned, whether it's Mad Men and you want historical references on, you know, what was that ad campaign, did that really happen in the 60s? And I have some other examples that I can show you guys as well, but really what we believe is that people who are the fans of the show, they're the ones that are going to be the most creative and have the best ideas for what content to put into a sideshow. And that's why we created a platform for you guys to do that, rather than us just deciding what content we think is best. So here's just some quick examples of some networks that we've worked with. We launched with Showtime's Dexter, and we've had sideshows for that. And today, if you download our free app on the iPhone, just search for Miso, you can go in and look at any of these examples, and you can go probably to any of your shows that are on today and check out a sideshow for that. And real quick, I just want to show you, this is an example of what our online publishing tool looks like today. This is in beta, and this is actually our very first version. You can see you put a timestamp at the moment that you want your content to appear. We have some layout choices. We let you select an image, and in this case, it's a quote. That's the template, so you can put in the quote and who said it. What we're doing is, if you're familiar with tools like Storify or Polyvore, we're evolving our tool to be very much more like a WYSIWYG, where you can drag and drop and curate information. And our goal is to make this the easiest way for you to curate content and publish second screen content. It literally takes less than 30 seconds to create a card like this, and you can immediately publish it, and it's live for your audience at that moment. One more thing that I just want to mention is because we're a platform, we really want to we want to take the sideshows that our producers create and power them everywhere. So not just in our own app. Today we have an iPhone app, and we're also have sideshows available on the web. But we want any networks, any brands, cable providers to be able to take our iOS SDK or our APIs and put sideshows into their product. So we're offering the platform and the technology to build the second screen experiences, and we're going to provide similarly the opportunity for anybody to put a sideshow anywhere. Including producers can promote their own sideshows in the way that you might promote a YouTube video. So we'll have an embeddable link that you can put in any site, any blog that you moderate pretty much anywhere on the web. And to end, I'll give you a little information about our company. Like I said, we've been around for 2 years. We're funded by Hearst Interactive Media, Google Ventures, and Coastal Ventures. We have about just 15 full-time employees, and we are based here in Soma, San Francisco.
Questions for Katie, for Miso, and then we'll start our panel.
What data tools do you use to track setting off of the sideshows, comments, you get auto-generated hashtags, what are the ways we put entries together to actually put the
Yes, we do. So we use our own internal system for tracking all the analytics. We measure everything that happens in a sideshow. So whether someone's viewed the card, if they've liked it, if they've commented on it, if they've shared it to Facebook and Twitter, and we can analyze the content within the comments that they produce. So we actually make this data available to our producers for free. So just by producing a sideshow, you're going to have a dashboard online that you can go and track, just like you would a blog post on WordPress. You can look by the day, what on Tuesday, what was my most popular sideshow? Where did I have the most views? And you can learn over time, specifically at the card level, what content was most popular. So you can cultivate your audience and start to understand more about what content and what information they respond to the most. Today we're just measuring it with we have a complete analytics backend implementation, and all of this data is stored on our servers. So yes, exactly.
How do you synchronize with the broadcasts?
That's a good question. Actually, I'm kind of prepared for this. Let me show. I have a real I have a bunch of slides here from other. Okay. So, how does it work? Today we have integrations with two cable providers. One is DirecTV, or two television providers. One is DirecTV and one is AT&T Uverse. So we can automatically detect if these are connected to your home network, and the phone will recognize them and synchronize up with them. So once it synchronizes, it tells you the show you're watching. You hit that show, and it'll track where you are and start sending you that timed content. So what happens is once that connection is established, the receiver sends to the phone what show you're watching and the moment that you're watching the show. So if you're 12 minutes and 5 seconds into the show, the phone knows that and it'll track the progress along. In addition to this, we also are working, we will be rolling out an ACR solution, which is automatic content recognition. You guys are probably familiar with Shazam, works just the same way. So basically, no matter how you watch it, as a viewer, you'll be able to synchronize your phone with that piece of content. And we just think this is hugely important to how people are watching TV today. I'm sure most of you have watched something on a DVR or on Hulu. You know, people are going to watch TV when they want and how they want. And so we want to be the platform and the second screen experience that's there no matter how you're doing that.
Thank you, Katie, Smiley. And we're going to move into more engaging with the panel and engaging with you. This is an open panel. I'm going to start with some questions, but if somebody wants to put their 2 cents in, I'm very happy to hear from them. So I mean, we saw really some great examples for what is out there. And each one is really very, very specific to what they do and gives the artist, the creator, a huge amount of freedom to create and to reach the audience. So let's start with a very big question of future of convergence panels. Like, where are we going with all of this? I mean, I completely see that there's so many, where I see it, and I'm going to give my 2 cents, is that the convergence is actually divergent. Like, we're going the opposite, even though there's so many platforms. The problem is that there's so many. And where are we going with all of this? Are we going to see more convergence or more divergence?
Yeah. You know, I think any kind of predictions are bound to be wrong. I mean, looking back in multimedia, which was what we used to call transmedia, in the 90s, there was a lot of the things that we've seen were kind of predicted and were attempted in small little niche groups, and then they've really kind of blossomed as first internet became mainstream, and then these devices went mainstream. And made it accessible, but a lot of these things existed before. They may have existed with, you know, LARPers or you know, a bunch of geeks in a basement or something like that. And now it's becoming much more broad. I think that the next thing of revolution is going to be something we haven't thought of, that hasn't been done. And I think we have to exercise a few of the things that it's like, theoretically, you could have a game that was persistent over 3 or 4 days with thousands of people, okay? Now we're playing with that. And now, once we've kind of pushed that a little bit further, someone's gonna come up with something that no one's ever discussed before, and we're all gonna go, whoa. And so I think it's gonna start, pieces are gonna glom together in terms of like, there'll be standard ways of producing stuff, but then there's gonna be these offshoots, these that are just gonna be a lot of garbage, and then every once in a while those
Yeah, predictions are easy. Flying cars. We're going to get there, people. We're going to get the fun. No, I'm just kidding. So, the way I see it, I mean, I agree with your point about convergence and divergence. I think we are diverging, and I think that's okay. I think that one more sort of bigger trend that I see, though, is we've been in kind of a world recently where the conversation and the activity around entertainment has been what I call third person. In other words, we're talking about the entertainment, which is great. I can talk to my friends about the show I'm watching on TV, and I can tweet about it, and that's fantastic. But I really think we're headed towards second person and first person. In other words, second person, where I get to participate in the story. So it's not just me sitting back and watching the story, but through technologies like ours, you can participate in the story. And then first person, I want to create part of the story. I want to be the one that helps to not necessarily define the story world, but actually help to tell part of the story world, or my perspective on the story world. So for me, the sort of bigger thing of where are we headed more involves kind of how do fans engage with these story worlds, how do they engage with the different kinds of transmedia that are coming out, and then I think Dan's absolutely right, where it's possible to guess sort of where things are going to go specifically, but I'm looking forward to getting more sort of involved, both as a storyteller and a fan.
Yeah, what they said. No,
Flying cars.
Yeah, flying cars. No, I mean, looking at it just from kind of what I know, which is the TV space in the living room, I do agree. I think both convergence and divergence are going to continue to happen, but I think if you look at the semantics of how people talk about TV today, it doesn't matter how you watch. You're watching on an iPad, you're watching on your phone on the subway. You still kind of say like, oh, I'm watching TV. So I think in that sense that there's going to be all these screens in our lives, but we're not going to talk about them as separate types of screens. You're always going to have a first screen. Sometimes it might be the iPad, sometimes it might be the television, it might be your computer, but I think you're also always going to have a second screen because people love to stay connected. So it just is a matter of what, sometimes your iPad's going to be your second screen, sometimes it's going to be your first screen. But at the end of the day, we're going to watch TV in a variety of ways, and I think, in 5 or 10 years, there's just going to be screens, and they're all going to be connected to the internet.
Yeah, no, I tend to completely agree. And I like what you said about TV, because what used to be the water cooler conversation is still the same conversation. It's just being done in a different way. I think Virtual was creating that conversation to us in the new generation, in the multi-platform, multi-screen generation. So how do you empower, actually, empower your fans to really create? How do you really get the tool? But not only that, because people are going to show up and do it, and we know about the upside down pyramid of engagement and lesser engagement of the viewers. How do you actually really encourage engagement and creation, actually becoming the first person in your fans or in your people that use your tool?
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple things. First of all, ever since we've started MISO, we've found that the fans in the TV community are extremely passionate. People are so connected emotionally to the shows that they watch, and they love to express that feeling and that sentiment. So I think there's, in our tools that we look at, there's two kind of paths that we see. One is creation, but another is curation. So there's already great stories that exist out there today. They're hidden though. That if you've ever gone and looked up a hashtag for a TV show, I think someone mentioned it, it's a fire hose of data, and how do you know what's a good tweet? But there are out there. There's funny tweets and insightful commentary and things about the plot that you would never think of. So how can we surface those in our tool to let users handpick the best ones? So their audience and ultimately the majority of people who are the consumers of the second screen content, they don't have to do the work. Similarly, if you look at TV fan forums out there, or even on IMDb or Wikipedia, if you read through these articles about the shows, there's really great content in there. It's just hidden. So what we want to do is really be able to surface those in our tool in an easy way for the producers to find that information and put it in to a sideshow and tag it again like at the relevant moment that you're most interested in that trivia or that insightful commentary. And so in addition to that, how do we make it easy? One thing that we're really focused on doing and we've always been focused on is experimentation. And so we're doing a ton of research efforts around content. And we publish this on our blog. If anyone's interested, it's just blog.gomiso.com. We look at every variable out there, from the pacing of content to what type of content resonates best with what genres and what shows, and what are the preferences of users based on the psychographics and demographics. So we say this all the time, but there's a lot of people trying to explore this space and figure out what the answer is. We don't know what the answer is yet. We don't think anyone does, but we're excited to learn and research, and we're excited to publish and share those learnings. So please check out our blog, and hopefully you'll find something interesting.
Question to Aaron. One question, is that for Katie?
This is addressed to everyone. Let's see. Most of your presentations show people sitting in a living room, and it's just like happens a little bit. With mobile devices, people tend to be outside the room all the time, moving around. And you mentioned Foursquare. So how does this change the whole metaphor? Because you're not just sitting in the room passively watching, but you're actively engaging with people outside.
Did everybody hear the question? Yeah. Good.
Yeah. I think it's a great point. And you know, certainly from my perspective, when we originally thought about how do you connect with these characters, I want you to connect with them while you're waiting in line at the bank. Like, it's not just about connecting with them on their terms, it's about connecting with them on your terms, just like you connect to your friends and family. You shouldn't do it while you're driving, but just about any other time, you should be able to pull out your phone and see what's going on with the characters and with your fans, or with your friends. And I think that's really sort of the next, where we're headed with this kind of storytelling. It becomes much more immersive. Part of it is, how do you connect to their story world, and vice versa, how do they connect to your real world? So, you know, you talked about Foursquare, for instance. Imagine, you know, being able to have the check-ins that you do in your real world affect what happens in the story world with the characters, right? And vice versa. And I think those connections are really important, and that's the direction we're headed. It's all about sort of doing it on your time, not necessarily the character's time.
And just a question for me, and this is more for the three of you to think, or for all of us to think, are we going into a world where reality and fiction are going to be one and the same? Dan, what do you think?
I think we're already there. I think that the consumer, the media consumer that is growing up today has an extremely different viewpoint on the media of I think most of our generation. And there's a few different. But you know, for media for me was, you go home after school. You know, you're talking about teenage prime audience, going home after school at a particular time and watching a particular show because it was at that particular time, and then talking about it the next day because everybody who was cool is watching the proper show, and then, you know, whatever. And now media is just at whenever you want. It's on the bus, it's on your iPad, it's at home, it's on the computer, it's all the different places, it's all different times. It's completely uncontrolled. There's just media fire hose at you from all sorts of different directions. And I think that different relationship with media isn't yet worked out. I think it's not quite mature yet, and I don't know if we're going to, I think it's really hard to see where that's going to go. But I think that the idea that people are going to be in one room looking at something and sharing that experience on a communal way is lost. It's gone.
What do you guys think? We're seeing it. We got conference guys, tablet guys, everybody's, there's a push and pull between, do you see an actual sentiment coming up from user crowdsourcing, crowdsourcing, to the more right of the hard comment that came out of the fact that people engage people users creation work? Actually, that's the most fun in the class. So how do you tie in quality? I don't like the word creation. It's an old paradigm, but quality metaphors and elements and art combined with interactive, interesting, compelling, user-contributed experiences like World of Warcraft, which is 3 things. That's the question we're looking at. How do you start to sentiment through hashtags, sentiment tracking? Yeah, or also voting, or also user project. I love to see user crowdsourced and also individualized to joint ventures. Let's say our real world, our digital. That's what this is like this is in there. That's the stuff we need that really takes storytelling into, like you said,
I mean, how many here have watched or are fans of My Drunk Kitchen? Yeah. Okay. So My Drunk Kitchen is a great, like, transposing between media. It's a show. It's a television show, but it was made by this one woman and a camera. I think she started out without having anybody helping her, and she'd get drunk in front of the television, in front of the camera, and make food. And it's awesome. And it's about 5 minutes long. She has a huge following. She engages with her fan base in multiple mediums. She engages with her fan bases by going to their homes and cooking in their kitchens. I mean, how much more real is that? I mean, she's actually doing media in people's houses and then putting it out there to the world and really become quite a sensation. And there's a lot of those different places. There's a lot of that kind of media. And that's why I think that the relationship between the way people treat media now is completely different. Not only is it disjointed, but it is user generated. And that's technically what she is. She says, I'm going to use YouTube and I'm making my user generated content, which is a television show, which is now actually making money. Ads. I don't know if she's really taken, she still has a day job, which is strange to me. I would actually say it's totally appropriate to art because we have a graphic novel that's what's out right now and it's gotten a lot of popularity. But we're also working on a fashion magazine. It's just a fashion magazine that you're interacting with in a lot different ways. It's passive, but you're like scrolling through Chanel jackets. Is that a passive or an active experience? It actually is active. You're touching it, but you're not necessarily engaged in the same way as you would be in, say, a video game. So I think there is still a semi-passive experience, but much more tactile, and that's what these bring us, is the tactile experience, as opposed to just sitting and then just zoning out. This isn't a very good zoning out experience.
Yeah, and I'll just add from Miso's perspective, it was actually kind of that 90% of the audience that we ended up building our vision for the Sideshow platform on, because we realized we weren't the ones that were going to create the content. We don't know what we're talking about. We need to empower the fans and the production companies and the storytellers to create those experiences for everyone else. And I think what you mentioned about passive is really interesting. One of the key technology components that we've been working on is that synchronization. So you're not going to sit and watch TV with your tablet like this the whole time, or your phone like this. You're going to get it out, you're going to put it away, you're going to get it out, you're going to put it away. So how do we keep people engaged and aware that there's extra content and extended stories beyond what they're watching? And so this idea of synchronization and pulling people back in through a push notification is, how we're doing that today. You can decide, those of you who have, use Notification Center, you can let those notifications of content pile up, and when we want to put that in the hands of the viewer to control when they want to interact, when they want to go dive in more, and there's always going to be kind of a mix of people who are going to want to interact more, and there's going to be the 90% who want to consume and just enjoy that content.
And our goal from the beginning was to make the experience of a saga feel exactly like a social network. And you can be passive or active in your social network on Facebook. And so we want the experience to be great in both cases, and we think it is with the stories that we've told so far. But I would even take active and passive one step further in sort of this world, in that, I could check in 5 times a day to my social network, you could check in 2 times a week, and if we're getting the same amount of content, one of us is completely underwhelmed and the other one's overwhelmed, right? So we also have, part of our system understands how to actually play the content back at the right pace with the right amount of content for you, depending on how you engage with the system, not depending on how the system wants to push content to you. And so I think that's an important piece of what it takes to tell a great story as well, from a sort of active, passive, make it personalized to each user. It's about how often they check in, it's about how they engage with the characters. If they're sitting back and not talking to the characters, that's okay. They should still get a great experience and still get a great story.
I can speak to Miso. We view our sideshows as similar to creating a blog, or you're creating a fan page on Facebook. So if you're the network and you want to, we actually work with USA as well. They're a great partner, and we do content for Psych and White Collar, among other of their shows. They control that entire experience for the sideshow for Psych by USA Networks. Anyone else in this room can also go create their own sideshow for Psych, and it'll be by you your name as the storyteller. And those are two different experiences. And we give our users the option to opt in to have either of those experiences. And we just believe we're not going to, USA can decide what information is appropriate for their sideshow, and we're going to give that control to the producer if you're a fan for your sideshow. And we're going to let kind of the most popular content will be the sideshow that surfaces to the top. And we believe that the users will be the ones who ultimately decide what's good content. And if the networks aren't creating good content, then the users will let them know.
I've got a question for Dan, actually. Bringing it back to product-based, you actually have a product-based platform if you're exporting an actual, a downloadable or something that is completely curated. What do you, it's not a book, because that's like my biggest question of reading, because we're moving out of a book.
We're still struggling with it. We originally,
What do we call this new product? Because it's now we have these products that go cross-platform, and when I try to actually tell people about, like, say, CodeShare, they do the digital interactive, then you start actually mincing words. So that's the question.
so the closest thing, and it seems a bit too buzzwordy, so I don't quite like it, but it's an experience operating system. It's a way. Basically a fully fledged platform in which you can have a passive movie, and when the movie, you swipe to the right, and information about the movie would come out. I actually would be very interested in putting the second screen stuff into that kind of technology into what we're building, because we're just really a very curated experience. But your Twitter feed is built into this magazine we're building, for example. But so you're going to have content that's in there. You can also touch and post things out to your social networks. So there's a little bit of interaction outside of the experience. But it can also, because it's built on top of Unity, if somebody makes a game in Unity, we can call that scene and play a full game. Like whether it's, instead of having a magazine about games and having, well, here's a review of it and maybe even a video if it's a website. No, actually, here's the game, and you can play the game and play the first sample. If you like the game, we'll buy the game. So what is that thing? It's not a book. It's not a graphic novel. It's not a magazine. It's something beyond that. And so right now we're calling it an experience operating system. If anybody has a better idea.
Have a better idea? Just going to ask one question and then I'll let you. I actually was interested to start saying it. How do we convert U3? Like, how do you see? You were starting to say that actually you could see the application, but it'd be interesting to me to see what's the Uber converged platform from this talk.
Well, I think that's Transmedia. So I mean, honestly, if you're a storyteller, you can leverage all three platforms to be able to engage your audience and your fans in three different ways. And so, it really comes down to what you're trying to achieve, I think, as a storyteller. What different kinds of ways do you want to tap into your audience? How can they engage with your characters? But I think, the three technologies we have are three fantastic ways to engage.
I mean, I can see having, we'll take Tron because we didn't work on it. Tron, so I've got my Tron graphic novel and I'm playing my Tron graphic novel, and maybe I'm going through an experience that's on it, and I started to engage with their system, and I'm starting to get texts and SMSs and stuff, and I can actually make decisions on my SMS, record them in the database. I've made some decisions, now my story changes. And then I'm watching a video, and then I can see extra information. So I can actually pull out my iPhone, and it knows that I'm at this point in the experience. Not just at this point in the video, I'm at this point in the experience, and now I can pull out my phone and say, what was the historical concept, whatever, I start looking at that extra information. So there's a lot of places that these technologies can play together.
Yeah. And I'll just add, I think that's the beauty of what we're all calling a platform, is that, when YouTube was first created, nobody in this room could imagine what the most popular content would be. They just created the tools for the user to go and create funny. Rebecca Black had her Friday video, and millions and millions who would have ever guessed that that's what the most popular content is? So I think what we want to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to empower you guys and the creativity of the community to have the tools at their disposal to create these stories and to get them out to your audiences.
Revenue stream.
who benefits, how would you change the relationship between data miners, advertisers, and
Can you repeat questions? Sorry. So let's know what's the revenue streams and how the relationship between the content creators and data miners and advertisers. I think it's a mess of things. I mean, it's not going to get simple. It's going to get more complex. For example, Operation Ajax. The light version is free. You can upgrade to $7.99. Simple sale. That's what it is. It's a book. A magazine is going to have primed advertisers who are seeing behaviors and knowing more about their users and want to place advertisement. But it's curated. It's more bespoke magazine kind of content. So therefore, you can do acquisition of physical goods within that experience. Or you can have digital experiences of goods so that you can purchase something on your iPad, and then when you're on Facebook, you have that virtual good there too. Or when you're on your Fire, you have that virtual good there. So there's going to be a lot of different revenue streams that are going to all be playing with each other. And there's also going to be, you're going to, all of this, you're going to have to communicate out in all the different social networks. And each one of them is going to bring to it different kinds of audiences, and the content is going to determine how can you monetize that. And a lot of what we're doing is we're saying, here's a bunch of tools for the creators to make content. And we're going to be building in a bunch of tools to help you monetize it, and then probably taking it off the top. Right now, we're charging for licensing and support, or revenue shares. We would like to get to a model where we say, here's the tool, everybody can play with it. And like their tool is, I love that model of, here's a tool, go play with it. If you can figure out a way to make money, awesome, and we'll just take a cut.
Is that the business model?
I'm going to simplify.
For us? Well, that's exactly the business model. So, I mean, I think, for us, we believe in freemium because it's working, because fans are already spending money that way through social today. So what we do is we take that model that works with social gaming and we apply it to storytelling. So you have sort of the free version that's available with ads and sponsorships and things like that, so that anybody can take your story and enjoy it. If they want the premium experience with the characters because they love them, then the ability to buy virtual goods, to actually sort of upsell that story to make it something different is available to them. And all we do is provide those tools to the storytellers, and then you can decide how you want to monetize your story, whether it's through product placement, through affiliate links, which we do as well, through the ability to do virtual goods. For us, it's really more about empowering the storyteller, and then I think, as we've said 100 times tonight, we're looking forward to the storytellers being the ones to really drive the innovation in that space.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so it's simple as advertising. I mean, the TV advertising market is $80 billion a year market. They're losing eyeballs to the second screen already. And so, we're going to find a way to make advertising work and be appropriate on the second screen. And we're going to let the producers of the content, the ones who are successful, will be able to monetize their content as well. And, in 5 years, we believe that everyone's going to have a second screen. And we believe that there's going to be a whole new job market of second screen producers out there that are going to, just like bloggers emerged and monetize the content they were putting on websites, we believe the same will happen on the second screen.
But I'm just wondering about GitGlue, which I don't understand. I tried it, checking it, to say I'm on the show. But, use a platform and kind of get a little bit more. And I just logged in and took the app in. And so I know there's a lot of my friends that are GitGlue junkies are there. And, there's a show that I like. So I'll probably start using it. For me, it's that issue of stickiness. How do you get people to keep using it? And then, and there's another question about
Sure. And I think, we often get compared to GetGlue because around the same time, 2 years ago when we launched, we were known as the Foursquare for TV. And that's also what GetGlue subsequently did as well. We have totally different goals. Like I said, we're talking about providing content and complementary experiences throughout the entire time you're watching. GetGlue is a recommendations engine. So you tell it all the things you like, and it'll spit back recommendations to you. We focus at a very granular level, not only at the episode level, but at the moments that happen in the show. As far as stickiness, I think that there's a lot of ways that we're still working on figuring out how, first of all, we're building a product. We're still working on that. We're researching the content. We haven't, like I said, we haven't figured out what great content is. We're looking to innovate with partners and with fans and networks and brands to come up with that. But we're also looking at how do we integrate this technology naturally into the way you watch TV, whether that be through connecting your device and sending you push notifications or sending you a reminder the next day that, hey, there's a sideshow for the show you watched. Maybe you want to take a break from work and kind of revisit that content that you saw last night. So it's a great question, and I think we're working on all those answers. Sure.
Yeah. How do you see yourself communicating with the old interactive with driving literally with YouTube technology, Samsung, YouTube, not the other company, and they were all like, yeah, we really want to get these eyeballs and capture them. It's like I thought they were looking to do an MMA thing where they're grabbing phone, force goggles on their face and just turn up the action. Yeah, and the bird rate's like 20% all these interactive. What are you going to learn from that space, and what are you going to do besides the obvious crowdsourcing that you can actively involved in these things and things like that? But, I'm really interested in trying to place this stuff. Is that can ask you something. What are the other things you see that are out besides that? Notice that they're pretty
I think the thing that.
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I think the question.
Oh, okay, I can repeat it slightly lower. Yeah. What are you going to do differently than the others who wanted to interact with you, try to store this blur, and all of them seem to have failed miserably?
So what are they going to do differently?
Yeah. What do you see something that you try to job is what behaviors have you seen that surprised you?
What differentiators and what behaviors they're going to do?
Maybe more than 20.
In the 90s, the big battle cry was content is king. And it's not. I actually don't. I think what's king is engagement. I mean, if you look at Farmville, it's obviously content. But it's somehow engagement. You're actively engaged with caring about what you're doing. And I think that any kind of the surviving media of the next few years is going to be the content that engages you on a deeper level. And I think that some of these technologies, some of these concepts are ways of engaging into an experience that is beyond just passively watching something. You can actively engage with your fan, your brand that you are a fan of. You can actively engage in it both on multiple different medium types, but also in multiple different styles. So not just SMS and Facebook, but on these devices in touch and playing back and forth with information with the brand. So the brand learns more about you and you learn more about the brand, and it's an exchange of information. I think that interactive TV was, branch here or something very simple. It doesn't really fly. It's got to be more engaging.
One last question. Has anybody? Got a question. Thank you very much. So each one of you, after we have the soapbox, the 1 minute soapbox, I don't know if anybody is interested to do the soapbox tonight. Yep, there's two or more people. Every time, every meetup, we let the community go 1 minute each soapbox where they get up, tell about the projects, their needs, whether it's transmedia and how they can contact them. Please keep it to 1 minute. After that, the three of our panelists are going to find a corner where they can actually do a little show and tell for a smaller group of people who actually want to see how their software or application works. And that is it. So thank you very much for coming. Again, thank you for Orange for our new house, our new home. Hopefully we're going to be here next month as well. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you. I want to thank the panelists again. 3 spectacular presentations. And I encourage anybody that is going to be able to stay for a little while to check out these demos. These are really powerful tools. And as creators, we really want to see what's the best in the toolbox out there. So before we break for that, we do want to open up the 60-second soapbox. And if there are any folks, I think she was here first, so come on up. There we go. So we'll let just one line here, and there you go. Okay.
It's kind of nice
It's fun. Google's doing a hackathon 2 weekends, I think it's from this, 2 weekends from now. Google Ventures sponsoring, it's in Google TV one. It's open to anyone who wants to it. I think it's like $20 or so, but if you have a cool app you want to bring to TV, you just submit the link off the meetup for the Google TV hackathon, and you just put the link in there in the thing and tell David Kareem sent you, and you'll probably get it for free, and if not, I'll pay for it. Just mention me on Twitter. Okay. It's at Google headquarters in Mountain View. Yeah, US Angels Inc. And there's some other cool stuff going on. Oh, AK2WebD3 is my Twitter. My name is Abdul Kareem Ali Khan, and 7 more names after that. Patrilineal. But AK2WebD3, answer that. My Google Voice is on my Twitter too. If you text me, so I never have to read email again, I'll actually do one thing that's, well, it's not too illegal or immoral. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right, Google Hackathon. You can see them afterwards if you have additional questions. Come on.
Hi, my name is Charles Xavier. I'm Director of Localization at Polarity Post. We work with tech companies, medical companies, video game companies, localizing their games or presentations, including translation, subtitling, foreign language, voice recording. We have the only 7.1 Dolby approved mix facility in the Bay Area, other than at LucasArts. So we can help you with your localization in up to 100 languages. We do this with Apple, Cisco, Symantec, and nonprofits, pretty much everyone. The other thing I do is I have a music label called Happy Note Records. Got 2 or 3 releases out. Released the first surround sound holiday Christmas music and toured with that, and we're looking to license music for all kind of presentations. We work with some of the top composers in America. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Charles.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Kincaid. I work in audience, interactive participation art, a lot of it game-based, and I currently have a prototype of a web puzzle game that's about to be developed as a mobile app. I'm looking for a partner or interns, hopefully a partner who can design some social media, the social media aspect of my audience interactive participation art. Jennifer Kin at jenniferkincaid.com, Kincaid.
Great. Thank you. Well, I think that's it for tonight. Just one more round of applause for Orange for why don't we just take 3 different corners here.